You know it. What is cardiovascular disease? What causes it? Is it preventable? Let's talk about it. Cardiovascular disease is a very large problem. It is the number one leading cause of death. This makes it an incredibly pressing issue. It has science backing up the fact that it is preventable. It can be fatal, and we should absolutely prioritize learning about it, preventing it. Cardiovascular disease is proven to be related to diet. When people consume a lot of saturated or trans fats, as well as low density cholesterol, it can cause their low density lipoprotein, or LDL, to increase. High LDL is what puts people at high risk for cardiovascular disease. That being said, reducing trans fat, cholesterol, and saturated fat intake can lessen people's LDL and cholesterol levels, which can make them at less risk for cardiovascular disease. So we're all probably wondering at this point, what are foods that have low levels of these fats and low density cholesterol? Let's introduce the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet is a diet that originated and is mainly carried out in countries around the Mediterranean Sea. This includes Italy, Crete, and Greece's food traditions. The main premise of the Mediterranean diet is emphasizing healthy fats like olive oil and decreasing saturated fats like butter. It also discourages the consumption of animal products, including dairy and especially red meats. The American Heart Association encourages a decrease in trans fats, saturated fats, and low-density cholesterol in order to keep the heart healthy. Increasing olive oil as opposed to butter, a large point in the Mediterranean diet, is a great example of following this recommendation from the American Heart Association. This has been studied as it is very relevant to our country's health issues. In the New England Journal of Medicine, a study on over 7,000 adults is discussed. It showed that an increasing olive oil consumption reduced cardiovascular disease by 17%. Though it does follow this recommendation, is the Mediterranean diet perfect? The acceptable macronutrient distribution range, or the AMDR, states that 20 to 30% of caloric intake should be from fat. However, in the Mediterranean diet, on average, 39 to 42% of calories are from fat. Since the AMDR is based in the United States, where the Mediterranean diet is not the societal norm, we don't know what it would be if it was based on the Mediterranean diet. It may be different if based on the Mediterranean diet, since the fats would be more typically unsaturated. Would the AMDR be supportive of higher fat intake if it was focused on unprocessed and unsaturated fats? The Mediterranean diet also changes things in other parts of the diet. It also encourages people to eat nuts. Nuts have healthy fats, and choosing to eat these nuts with healthy fats in place of one's typical snacks follows the guidelines of the American Heart Association, but it also falls under the Mediterranean diet. This can be a great way to decrease lipid levels, which decreases one's risk of developing cardiovascular disease. This was tested in a study where 138 adults, being instructed to eat pecans instead of reaching for their typical diet, their lipids and lipoproteins and glycemic control were measured both before and after this change in their diet. By the end of the study, they were found to have better lipid levels, leaving them less prone to cardiovascular disease. A study published in Science Direct discusses the Mediterranean diet in a case where it was tested on animals, comparing it to a Western diet. The animals who were eating based on the Mediterranean diet showed healthier results than those who ate a Western diet. This shows how it benefits animals of all species and may be a great tool for those who are at high risk. Though it is the leading cause of deaths, cardiovascular disease can be prevented. It is important to be conscious about what we are eating, as it could save lives. Spreading the word about how to avoid cardiovascular disease is very important. Maybe we should all take a page out of the Mediterranean diet as it could help keep us safe.